Okay, you need to know this. To do improv, you do not have to be funny. This is not a requisite to do improv. But to be in Comic Frenzy, you have to be funny. So these were important distinctions. So funny not required to do improv. We're improv, but you have to be funny to be in Comic Frenzy. So
all of the guys that were on the original team that were still there when I joined, they were masters of the craft, and it was because they didn't just create it up on the spot, but they had structure to it. They knew the who, what, and the where, and yes, then, and raising the stakes, and doing everything you needed to make it compelling.
We created so much amazing things just by sheer determination, and just a bunch of 20-something kids reading, well, improv means this. Yeah, okay, let's try and apply that. And magic happened there, and no matter what, it was never not a joyous time for me.
Mormon audiences or Christian audiences often mistake the feeling of either like rambunctious fun or the feeling of conflict with not being in tune with the spirit. But it always felt like, the theater department and Comic Frenzy, like there's sometimes this underlying feeling of like, you guys just don't get it. Like, you don't get what we're doing here. Like, we're doing amazing things here and you guys just can't see it because you're like blinded like the Pharisees. Like,
it was really hard to do any of the creative arts at BYU-Idaho. So I was a vocal major there too. And I switched majors because of that, because I was like, I feel like we're only singing church songs. Like, this is just a really strange environment where it just feels so stifled constantly. Surprise, surprise, like, obviously. But I noticed something happening just with my OCD and anxiety, that when we'd be in scenes, I was constantly overthinking everything. And I think that was that scrupulosity in my mind that was just like checking myself to where I did not feel spontaneous. I didn't feel like I could go into a scene confidently. It got really bad.
I completely credit my positive experience at BYU-Idaho to the theater department, to groups like Comic Frenzy, where they were able to, one of my favorite things about comedians is that they're the truth tellers, right? They're able to get away with some social commentary and some truth that people wouldn't take well otherwise, but they're able to make those observations because they encase it in humor. And so it helps people be able to laugh at themselves and be able to laugh at the quirks of their culture and just everything.
It was a good time. We had a lot of fun. I was surprised how well or how much I took to it, how fun it was to me, and how much I looked forward to those rehearsals. Every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 7. That was like I looked forward to those every week.
I think like comedy, laughter, improv is like one of the 4 essential things that you need in life. I think I'm going to list comedy as one of those things. For me, especially in my own personal life, it has been like everything to me. People talk about all kinds of everything with managing mental health and all these things. And I think for me, pretty much the answer to any problem in my life has been humor and comedy for me. And hopefully not in an unhealthy way. I don't know.
Being able to bring so many people to the shows of just that skill level and working well with the team, that I knew I had to rise to that level. I hope that I was able to rise to some level amount of that, but it's one of those things that you have to not be thinking in terms of like, well, how great can I be? It's like, but how great can I assist and help everybody else look? You're helping everyone else to be their best selves, and that's what I really tried to do.
When you do something well with somebody on stage, it increases your friendship off stage, which I think happens elsewhere, like when you're at work, for example, but you don't have as many scenarios in a normal workplace where you rely on somebody so heavily and the feedback mechanism is so strong and so immediate, right, that you get that boom of laughter and right then it made sense, it worked.
You're also trying to be aware of what's coming to you and to pick the most useful, helpful choices. So there's this pursuit of like liberating your mind, but also being thoughtful about it. And so it can be hard at BYU-Idaho to explore letting everything go, because, you know, if we always let everything go, we would just not be that worried about what we were saying or what kind of lifestyles we were portraying, because it's I don't know, in a creative space it makes sense that a conservative audience is reactive to a creative space, because there are all these rules that you need to follow there.
In like just conversation, in jobs, in whatever, like if you have the ability to say yes and, like, you can like sell yourself better for a job, for instance, be like, yes, I do have that experience and this is what I did with it, you know, whatever. It's just like such a small thing, but I think you can really apply that concept to a lot of areas.
A lot of us creative folks, we have ADD, or we have things that are happening in life, and I think you have to kind of like be more zen about it, like, hey dude, like, yeah, you do you, and like, if you find yourself at rehearsal, be in rehearsal. If you find yourself needing to get a job, do that, but I'm not going to kick you off the team. Like, that would be my ideal. But there's a balance, and that's what I learned too in Comic Frenzy. It's like, you have to have wit, you have to have intelligence behind the humor, and it's more of a group mind, so if you're like all on the same page, it does help.
We're learning and exploring things, and with that like came failure, but also just like with that idea, like I don't know, I felt kind of inspired by when people are trying to fuss with fuss with the gate because they assume it's locked, so they do all the work to climb over the gate just to find that it was like unlocked, you know.
Also, like, when I think that semester there were other new people that were still figuring it out, like how to do improv, and like trying to be able to tell what a good scene was, and they couldn't figure that out, maybe.
Comic Frenzy was really important to me and for the people that I met. Yeah, now I do improv still. I'm lucky enough to have a group here, and like I said, the group that my brother started up, and so just improv. I'm just grateful for that college experience of improv, mostly.
You don't know what life has in store for you, so just treasure the time where you get to be a grown-up and do make-believe and get college credit for it and do it for your friend and have it be justified and organized and have a blast with it, because, you know, it is improv, and for it to work out like that is truly a gift.
When you say Comic Frenzy, I don't think of like a stamp. I think of the people that I worked with and the magic that we created, and the wonder of improv that we know, that is like, it really is just that pure, you created something in the moment and you're looking in the eyes of your scene partner, and that look in the eyes of your scene partner were just kind of like, that just happened. Like, and just how you kept doing that over and over and over again with the people that you love and trust. But it is that thing of it really doesn't matter. I think back to that question that we had in our 20s when we were talking about, will it continue? And it's just kind of like, no, it won't. This won't continue, because this, just like improv, it's going to be gone.
You know, with the original group, we had a lot of other people that were coming on and leaving and coming on and leaving. Some people would stay for a semester, some two. But there seemed to be that core, at least in the beginning, for the first like 3-4 years, that core group of people, you know, who were in it from the very beginning.
Everyone had something that was sort of itch, and that somehow, this cathartic, weird place that we created was very, we didn't even mean to do it.
I was looking for something, looking for that connection. And like James, I talked to on Google Chat almost every single day. Like he's the older brother that I never had. So that aspect of it, I think, is what keeps it going together. I think one of the reasons why we were successful, having thought about it a lot, I mean, because we performed and instructed at one of the forums on campus once, and I was in charge of talking about, because we were a religious institution, talking about how the gospel or our religious beliefs kind of played into comedy. And I thought it was interesting, like we think, oh, religion and comedy can't really go hand in hand, but here we were, a comedy group on a religious campus, and just kind of looking for that relationship. It was kind of interesting to think, okay, how do we make this work? And I think some of those constraints are what made us more successful, because you get on a stage and it's like, oh, I can swear, I can do potty talk, I can talk about sex all I want. But here we were with these constraints, and I think it pushed us all to be a little bit more creative in our approach, which I thought made us more successful.
It causes you to be more, to tap into, it causes you to be more creative. Potty humor, I mean, I'll laugh at certain potty humor just like the next person. I mean, come on, who doesn't like a fart joke? Within the confines of having to stay clean, it truly does. It causes you to have to be more creative because you're not drawing upon the easy laugh. You're going for a much more of a nuanced, layered, funny. And it's interesting, when I studied at UCB, one of the big things was they would say, don't go for the easy laugh, the pee pee poo poo, ha ha ha, penis vagina, ha 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 ha. Go for the highbrow laugh. And yet, when I would see improv troupes perform at UCB, a lot of them, they resorted back to the pee pee poo poo. And it was like, sometimes it was funny, but most of the time it was like, all right, enough. Okay, I get it. But like Amy Poehler, I would watch her perform live, and she would pull from the, and her team, I felt like that they were really using the top of their head, that they're going from the top of their head.
With Comic Frenzy, I thought that I fell in love with improv, and I was like, oh, this is this medium that I love and that I can do, and it's such a part of me, and that's true. But what I didn't realize at the time, that in hindsight and experience has taught me, is that we had lightning in a bottle, in this sense that I've done improv with other troupes since then, and it's been funny, and it's been good improv, but it just wasn't that, and it wasn't this group of people, this strange concoction of people who just all happen to enroll in this school and create this thing together. I've never done improv in a place or seen it where it has gotten that same level of response that Comic Frenzy did, and we felt like, I felt like a minor celebrity on campus.
That's kind of one of the biggest takeaways, is something that I think even transcends comedy, transcends this thing of what Comic Frenzy was. For me, the biggest takeaway was that us students were able to create something and grow it to a point where it was the biggest thing on campus. I mean, I couldn't go to class without getting stopped. Dude, I went to the show on Friday night or Saturday night. It was so awesome. It was so freaking cool. Pardon my French. I'm sorry to say freaking.
I remember the one thing to give me really unrealistic expectations for the real world, because I was in a very small town in Idaho. But I was walking down with some of my friends who weren't in Comic Frenzy one time, and we walked past this group of girls, and my friend heard them say, "Oh my gosh, that guy's in Comic Frenzy." And I literally, I'm like, oh, that's the only time in my life I've ever felt like a celebrity, was being at this small college town in Idaho and being like, oh, wow, I am very popular. I don't even know if I was pop. She didn't say, oh, that guy's so funny. She said, oh, he's in Comic Frenzy. So,
No, there's something about performing, something about sharing the rawness, the vulnerability that really allows you to truly connect with people. If you're performing with them, if you're performing for them, the rawness, the genuineness, the vulnerability that allows true human connection, I think is as godly as you can get on this life. I mean, I really believe that connection and unity with others is the secret to happiness and the secret to greatness.
The guys I worked with to this day are still some of the funniest guys that I've ever met. And a lot of them have continued on doing this stuff, and we'll get together every couple of weeks or so. We'll get on and we'll play some fun games and stuff together. And I'm still in awe on just how funny, everybody is.
Comedy was some sort of saving grace for us. Like, comedy became this thing that, like, from before and now, and even now, even the story of now, what comedy's still doing to us, and how much is a part of us.
So Comic Frenzy really just opened my world a lot, and I got to meet some really cool people. And it's really fun to sometimes be like, we're watching a show or something, and I'm like, oh, that's my friend on that show right there. We were in Comic Frenzy together. Or, my friend, he's a writer for this show. We were on Comic Frenzy together. So it's really exciting when I can say that.
Jeff Blake and James Best told me to audition. They didn't ask. I was given an order. And because I was their roommate at the time, this was before James started sleeping on the couch every night and then mysteriously vanished from the apartment altogether, I didn't have a choice. I was afraid of what they could do to me. Plus, I had become incredibly good friends with those who were already on the team or were also auditioning. Auditions were a blast. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was having fun doing it with everyone else. When I made the troupe, I was thrilled. I thought we were going to have a blast. Little did I know. Scary/mysterious music plays here with timpani. You know, those big drum things and perhaps a creepy organ. Like in that movie, what was it called? I don't remember. Just think of big drum things with an organ from some movie I was thinking of a minute ago. It was a blast. Some of the best times in college ever, without question. And I think because of it, I got to play with Jeff Blake, Christian Busaith, and Nate Lowe in the Best of Guitars Unplugged. It was the rockstar performance where many students got to see me and the troupe perform. They thought we were so unbelievably cool. We were.
I do remember that there was some drama between Comic Frenzy and the student body that ran activities, specifically like Guitars Unplugged. We were asked to MC Guitars Unplugged. I remember that so many of the people who maybe they were employees or students who were involved in putting those events on just did not respect us and did not think we were funny. And at one point we were performing between numbers at a Guitars Unplugged. I think it was the main event in the Heart, and they just turn off the mics and turn off the lights to kick us off the stage.
Guitars Unplugged audition list. You said you weren't gonna do it. I gotta try, baby. I gotta do this now. It's time for me to do something for me, baby. Am I not enough for you? Baby, if I don't try out now, if I don't try for Guitars Unplugged, think about it. If I don't make it, I'll never be able to show my face in another girl's department again, trying to wow them with my mediocre guitar skills like every other guy on this campus, baby. If I don't do this right now. You may not be good enough for Guitars Unplugged, but you're good enough for me. I'm afraid that's just not good enough right now, baby. Since I was a boy, I've wanted to fly way up in the stars, be famous even though it's at BYU-I. I want to go and show this world a thing or two. I want to show them I've got a heart that's true. When I was just a girl, you were all I ever wanted. Oh, Rocco, won't you be my man? I don't know if I can, unless I get into Guitars Unplugged. I'll just be another boy in the gutter, a street thug. Hold my hand. It feels like burning. I'll take you to Guitars Unplugged land. You mean it? I'm so glad we're platonic friends. You meant so much to me. I see that look in your eye. You mean so much to this campus and to me. I see that look in your eye, and I know that you'll be there for me. I see that look in your eye, and I know that I'm finally free. I'm finally free to be the person that I want to be. Stay here with me. What about them? I have to share you with the world. Yes, girl. I guess I have to put away my childish dreams. But just to know, I want you to know I love you so. That's disturbing. Bye, Rocco. Bye. See you later. I'll be at Crago's later if you want to come. Pizza bombs. Janelle Byington.
But so me and Jeff Blake did one of the nights, and we did this bit where we came out and pretended to be the bishop and the Relief Society president of BYU-Idaho 46th Ward. And it was I had created this character for Advice Panel, where I was Susie Chandler's the Relief Society president of the BYU-Idaho 46th Ward, or Rexburg 46th Ward or something, and I just so I went out with a wig and a dress, I cross-dressed. I went out there and I played the part. You know, that was a part I had worked on in front of a mirror, embarrassingly. But I passed off as a really good Relief Society president, and half the audience was laughing uncomfortably. The other half was scoffing. So I think that kind of built up the dislike for us, which kind of climaxed to us having the lights and mics turned off on us.
I'm grateful to be here tonight to play you a song. It's called The Fellowship. What? What are you doing? It's pretty obvious what I'm going to do, man. I'm going to play. You didn't make it. Yeah, I did, Ben. When you auditioned, the exact phrase they used was stinkorama. They compared you to Screech from Saved by the Bell.
I think my favorite memory ever, I've thought about this and I'm determined this is it. Often we were asked to host Guitars Unplugged, and oftentimes it didn't go very well. I remember one time James Best hosted, and there was a heckler who was in the audience really giving James a hard time. And it got on James's nerve, and progressively throughout the show, he eventually just cracked. And he unloaded on this guy, and he used all of his humorous skills to ridicule this young man and really humiliate him, and, you know, for the whole audience. And I think he went a little too far. James felt bad, and I remember hearing from him from a lot of different people. Well, anyway, that particular event was was one of the preliminary Guitars Unplugged, and then they have the best of later that week, and then we were going to host that too. And so James and I created this idea. We thought this would be a really good idea, that James, during the best of show, and it's bigger, there's more people there, he would make a formal apology out to the audience, hoping that that individual he ridiculed would be there and that he could apologize to him. And we planned that I would be in the audience and pretend to be the guy who heckled him 2 nights before.
This is serious, okay? It's way serious. Now, who was there on Thursday night? Well, on Thursday night I did something I shouldn't have done. And I was mean to someone, and remember the guy in the crowd, he was yelling at me, and I made fun of him? Well, that was mean. That was mean. That was called for. Even though I ripped him apart, shouldn't have done that. Even though I made him, look foolish in front of other people, I shouldn't have done that. Okay? So I just want you to, okay? So I apologize.
Now we know why we call you blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Who's out there? Are you back? Are you kidding me? You want more? Listen. I'm funnier than you. I can run funny circles around you. I'm like infinity times funny. You think you're so funny? Well, come on up here, huh? Come on up here. Come on up. Oh, you're funnier than me. And if you look up the dictionary and the thesaurus, it'd be every single entry for funny. Now get up here. No, you're dead. Yeah, you want a microphone? Huh? Here's a little microphone for you. Is that microphone on?
Way uncool Thursday night.
Oh, I'm so uncool. I'm the jerk. Listen, the funny jerk. Okay. What do you want, huh? Jokes or impressions?
You name it, I'll do it.
Okay. Impressions. I want to see impressions. Give me Bill Cosby. Can do Bill Cosby. How about the president? Do President George Bush.
My fellow Americans. Time has
come when we must ask ourselves, is our children receiving the education they need?
So the audience, they really thought this whole thing was real, and that the guy he had heckled 2 nights before was beating him at his own game, and so it was a lot of fun. And that was a really cool little bit. And the funniest thing about it all is after this was all said and done, a few days later, one of my former companions from the mission, his name was Ben McAvoy, he came up to me and said, "Hey Brady, I saw you at Guitars Unplugged on Saturday. And you want to know something hilarious? The guy he heckled, the guy James Best heckled 2 nights before was me. It was me he heckled." But the thing was, he wasn't really offended. He thought it was hilarious and he knew he had it coming. But I just thought it was so ironic that I was portrayed as the guy who was heckled, and the guy who was heckled was my mission companion in my mission.
One time we were doing a show, it was off campus. For some reason, I was pretending to be a cow.
Sarah Alsop was pretending to be a cow, and I went up and I wasn't even thinking anything. She's on all fours, and I wasn't thinking, and I just went up and I started milking her.
To like milk the cow, and the whole audience just like started laughing and laughing, and I was like, I don't see what's so funny. I'm a cow, he's milking me, that's a normal thing. And then they were like, well, it's because you're a woman and you know you can be milked. And I was like, okay, but I wasn't a woman in the seat, I was a cow, obviously, you know. God, they're just disgusting.
Okay, I was milking her, and I realized what I was doing, and I stopped. But by that time, it was too late. The audience was howling. Thankfully, they understood. They got that was a total slip. That I wasn't even thinking. Like, oh my gosh, this is a woman on all fours bending down, and I'm milking her, kind of a thing. So that was. That's a fun memory. Or the memory of we were at rehearsals and we were playing a game, and at the end of the game it was New Year's Eve, and we were doing the ball countdown and everything, and we're like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I grabbed Ben Parks by the face and I put my thumbs like this so that I would kiss my thumbs, but I didn't quite make it, so I full out planted a kiss on Ben Park's lips, and I've never regretted it. So
yeah.
In that creative process with all these who I would deem comedic geniuses, who are just spot on with their capacity for finding the humor in anything, and the way they kind of mastered their craft, and in so doing, I mean, being in a room with them, you can't help but being raised up by it. So I felt like it helped me as an actor, as an improver, to be a part of the team at that point.
I was one of their biggest fans. I mean, I feel like it was my first week at BYU-Idaho. Someone invited me to one of their shows, and I never stopped going. Being involved in theater, I got to be a bouncer for them for almost every show.
Because back when it was like just an activity, there were people, I think it was just the bouncers is what we called ourselves, that it was just like the people who would just help like take tickets and like put up posters or like run tech, like do the kind of administrative non-performing things. So I did that for a long time because I was like, I'm not funny enough to do improv or whatever. So, and then I was like, maybe I am. I'll try.
And as someone who was never confident enough to audition, well, and I lacked confidence because, being honest, I'm not that funny of a person, but I will say they gave me a comedy gem by calling that position at the door bouncers, because getting to tell my junior high students that one of the jobs I had in the past was as a bouncer has given me a lot of comedic mileage. So thank you, Comic Frenzy, for that. And then in the summer of 2006, Mallory Longo, who was the manager while I was there, most of the years I was there, wasn't on track, and so they asked me to step in as summer manager, and I got to work with Comic Frenzy in that capacity and see a lot more of the behind the scenes for what went on.
I do know that I met my husband, my current husband, I don't know why I said my current, it's my only husband, at the tryouts. We didn't date for years later, but I do remember that that's where I met my husband, and he didn't make the team, and he never did, even when I decided who made the team. But that's where I met him, but I don't remember how I found out. I must have just seen a poster around campus, and this would have been in 2004.
2002, 2003, I was familiar with Comic Frenzy. I had seen my friends in the theater department perform in it, was always amazed by it, but it wasn't something that I thought, well, this is something I can do. It's not something that was on my radar as far as something, because the people who were in there, their brains worked like it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. I mean, just watching Ben Parks play Pop-Up Storybook was a wonder to behold.
We would play Pop-Up Storybook, and that game in particular, there was something about the way that I narrated that story that eventually it became my game, and I was the only one that was that narrated the story ever. And it was just assumed that if we were playing Pop-Up Storybook, that I was the one telling the story. Which is bizarre in hindsight, because it's we didn't do that with any other games, but it was that game was mine.
There was another person who wanted to go to the ball as well. Her name was Cinderella. She wanted to go to the ball because...
I heard there's gonna be cavemen there.
She heard correctly. However, there was another caveman who was named Wolfenstein. Most people thought he was German, but he wasn't. He was getting ready for the ball. As the saying goes, it was going to be a gay old ball.
So it was something I always loved going to, but again, was not something that I thought too much about as for myself. When I got back, friends had told me, you should try out for Comic Frenzy, and at my second semester back, it was the beginning of January 2006 is when I auditioned for it. So I auditioned. It was a nerve-wracking experience because you just so want to be good at it. And with perspective, you're able to look back and just kind of say, well, of course you're not going to be good at it because you're not going to be brilliant at it right away because you've never done it before. So all you can do is go in and do your best. But all I remember about the audition process was just feeling so, not feeling judged, but feeling inadequate and feeling if I would get a laugh, I just clung to that laugh and was okay, I got that. And then if I didn't get a laugh, that swallowed up everything else. I mean, it was just all of the Jeff Gonzalez insecurities that just... I remember doing that and then making it in and just feeling so relieved because that semester was the last semester for a lot of these people. For Brant, James, Ben, Christian, JD, a lot of them were going off they were graduating. So I knew that there would only be this one chance. I could audition for it again, but this would be the one chance that I'd be able to get in the room and really see the behind the scenes with these masters, really. So I remember just feeling so incredibly grateful.
I made the decision to walk into auditions not understanding what I was getting myself into. I mean, I made that choice and I own that. But I had dated a girl down in Provo, and her roommate was a part of a sketch comedy group. It was a frenzy of comedy. And so I knew, like, I really would love to do this. I'd love to like sit down with people that are fun and write sketches and come up with ideas, and then like come up with costumes and props and like put them all up on stage and have people come watch me, and like have all this like planning beforehand and then execution and then all the little surprises along the way. So I thought this was really cool. And then I had just moved into a new apartment, had some roommates. One of my roommates was, he had a really sensitive laugh reflex. And so everything I did, he thought was hilarious. And I'd never really been around someone like that. That really boosted my confidence. So every time I did anything, he just would like fall on the floor laughing and tell me how funny I was. So I had this like validation, even just like doing nothing. And he was like, "Oh, Evan, you have got to try out for Comic Frenzy." I was like, Comic Frenzy? I had just seen a frenzy of comedy. This is, so I thought Comic Frenzy was sketch. I thought it was like the same thing, just the BYU-Idaho version of the BYU-Provo Divine Comedy or whatever it was. So I went to try out. I found out about it, went and tried out. Within 10 minutes, I realized, oh no, this is not what I had in mind. But I had already eaten lunch, so I figured I might as well stay.
I mostly thought that Comic Frenzy was maybe just a stand-up show. I dabbled a little bit in stand-up comedy.
I'm the kind of guy, I hate being sick, so I'll just ram medicine down my throat as fast as I can, because if I get over the first day, the rest of them are pretty bearable. So I started off this day, I had 2,000 milligrams of acetaminophen in my system, 50 of loratadine, 30 of Sudafed, about a full bottle of Dayquil, and half a tube of Airborne. I went to donate plasma, she told me my blood type was crack.
Not much though, and I didn't really have a full routine, but I just thought, hey, if this just looks like it would be fun. I'd never done improv before in my life. I'd watched Whose Line Is It Anyway? So when I showed up at Comic Frenzy and found out that that's what it was, I was taken aback, but I was like, let's just roll with it. It was my first semester. I had been living in Idaho for 3 weeks. Didn't know anybody except for the ex-girlfriend that I had that showed me around when I got up there, and so I was like, well, this might be a good way to make friends. And it turned out to be exactly that.
Doing what I did, playing the piano and being able to provide a lot of the background music and working together is something that I didn't know that I wanted to do until I was doing it. I realized I wanted to do something like that. Growing up, I watched some of my some people that I knew. They were able to take music and just change it around. They took Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and made it sound really amazing and epic. And I was thinking, wow, that's really cool that you can take music and do something like that, just improvise. And so I was looking for some opportunity like that. And it was my first semester up at school, up at college. Ben Parks had put out an advertisement somewhere. I think maybe it was just an email blast out to the school looking for somebody to take that improvising pianist role. And I just thought, I was like, well, this is interesting. I'll try this. And the first time that I had watched a Comic Frenzy show, I was performing in it.
The university was like trying to streamline like the departments and have like academics and activities and like intramurals. Like it was trying really hard to kind of solidify those things. And Comic Frenzy and like the school administration had been like it had been really hard to like communicate to the administration like how valuable this was and how it was all of these really great things. It was student led, it was democratic, it was there were all of these things that were really valuable about it, but because it like wasn't through the proper channels, we were just having trouble like being able to do shows or like being able to have rehearsal or like having any kind of legitimacy. And then it was like, okay, well then do we have to move off campus? Like, is Comic Frenzy now no longer a BYU-Idaho thing? Is it now just a Rexburg thing?
I never got involved with the political stuff of Comic Frenzy because I just didn't want to. I knew it was important. I knew that, the things that James and Brant were doing behind the scenes, and eventually, Valerie coming in and helping as kind of our manager. Those things were important. We needed that. We needed a constitution. We needed, these set things. So I knew it was important. I just didn't want to be involved in it. I literally just wanted to be like, I just want to make people laugh. I want to make people laugh, and I want to be able to do it with these people because I trusted these people, most of the people on the team, I don't want to lie and say that everybody, but most of the people on the team I absolutely trusted on stage and knew that they would never screw me over. I would never screw them over.
We were doing shows on the campus, but we were also trying to do shows for like campus events, like opening for other events. And so it was a little bit confusing what we were, where we were going, and how it was organized.
We did one for the Red Cross, but that must have been for the tsunami.
So for the tsunami relief, I don't think I was here for that one.
Because it was an unofficial show. Anyway, it was a huge thing. We were like, let's raise all this money. And then I think we might have just like had the money in a cash box. I think we made like $1,500 or something like that. It was or more.
As people throughout the world race to raise money to aid tsunami survivors in Asia and Africa, the student comedy troupe Comic Frenzy rose to the occasion and made their own contributions last weekend. The benefit event titled Comic Relief brought in over $2,700 from 4 performances Friday and Saturday nights. By now, most people know about the devastation caused on December 26th by a magnitude 9.0 earthquake at the bottom of the Indian Ocean and the massive tsunamis that resulted. With the death toll of the disaster rising above 150,000, the question now is what can be done to help survivors. The Comic Relief benefit shows on Friday and Saturday were the brainchild of James Best, a senior from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and a member of Comic Frenzy. When Best heard about the disaster, he wanted to do something to help. Comic Frenzy has been entertaining audiences for several years now at venues both on and off campus. The group typically fills the Kirkham Arena Theater, its usual on-campus venue. Valerie Best, a senior from Chino, California, who has served as Comic Frenzy's manager for the last 3 years, said the group initially set a goal to raise $2,200. To their surprise, they ended up bringing in more than $2,700, over 1/3 of which came from student donations beyond the $2 ticket price. "I was really impressed with student generosity," Valerie said. The group plans to send their money to tsunami-battered countries.
What I remember about the Hurricane Katrina one was that what we had originally planned was again to just sort of take donations, and then there were logistical issues from that. We'd kind of gotten in trouble the first year for taking tickets and money at the doors.
And we were like so proud of ourselves. And then there was this controversy, like, you guys did that outside of the purview of the theater department.
So kind of what we did was think of a way that people could give toward a worthy cause, without the money actually changing hands. So we made all our shows free for that weekend. For benefit Hurricane Katrina, and then what we recommended was people donate to LDS Humanitarian Services. We were going to take donations, but then kind of word got around, probably not a smart idea, and we ended up changing course, making free shows, and then requesting that the audience put that money toward something more worthwhile.
I think maybe we almost got canceled for that, if I remember correctly.
Because the administration, we had gotten into some difficulties with the fundraising show that we were doing and some miscommunication, and they found out we weren't being supervised and freaked out because comedy and theater could never be a good combination. And then finally, my senior year, we were canceled by the administration.
All Comic Frenzy shows have been canceled by the BYU-Idaho administration. Rumors that Comic Frenzy was canceled due to complaints of shady content are false. There was a lackadaisical approach as it slipped under the administrative radar since it began in winter 2002. Every show is jam-packed and growing in popularity, and the plug has now been pulled. Comic Frenzy started with activities nearly 3 years ago, but has since moved to the theater department. Activities didn't communicate the procedures necessary to function within that organization. Kelly Bergener, Dean of the College of Performing and Visual Arts, said the troupe doesn't fit into academic programs, activities, and societies, aka clubs. Comic Frenzy and Theater Council do a fantastic work. Bergener said Comic Frenzy was simply unaware. They had an unauthorized benefit show for tsunami victims last winter. Recently, they were encouraged to do a benefit show for Hurricane Katrina victims in September. They received authorization, but it was later withdrawn, only hours before their show. Comic Frenzy was misinformed. The show went on, and the damage was done.
And so they canceled us. And so we ended up actually becoming, as through the negotiating process, if you will, we became a class. We became Contemporary Arts Ensemble for my last semester.
Before Comic Frenzy became a class, the activities department at BYU-Idaho was like, we want Comic Frenzy to be part of us. But if that's the case, that they were like setting forth these rules of like, this is how this would work, and Comic Frenzy was like, that would destroy a lot of the things that are really important to us. And so we don't want to do that. We want to stay with the theater department. We want to keep running things as close to the way we're running them now as possible. We won't be able to do that with going through the activities department.
And Brother Clifford became our instructor. And actually the Constitution ended up saving us in terms of we were able to show it to the administration and say we are running in an organized way, we are keeping our humor clean, we are gospel-centered and in our focus. And so by the end of my last semester as a member of the team before I left for graduate school, we were a class, and we functioned very much in that way as much as we could.
We had done off-campus stuff for a while, but we had been doing it as Comic Frenzy. And so it kind of afforded us an opportunity to kind of rebrand off-campus. And so we would go and we perform off-campus shows as a group called the Hysterics, featuring certain members of Comic Frenzy. Those certain members were everyone from Comic Frenzy. With the Romance Theater, I don't think we were the only ones that were doing that benefit. I think, if I remember right, we were invited go and do it, and it was something that we felt strongly about. But I think there may have been like a battle of the bands, or there may have been some concerts or something else. So it wasn't just Comic Frenzy or the Hysterics at the time. It could have been something else. But, at the time, we'd created the Hysterics to keep performing improv off campus while we got canceled for a semester by the school administration. And, we were kind of going around place to place, and it was a venue that sat a lot of people. The stage was fine. There was like a little bit of separation. It was like a smaller version of our Mother's Week shows where, in Mother's Week shows, there was, 400 people in there, I think, 400 to 500 people, and the stage was enormous.
What's for dinner? I love you, Mom, but I gotta tell you something. And I hope you don't take it as a surprise. I'm tired of eating nothing but muffins. And I really like it when you make pies. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? What's for dinner? What's for dinner? Rice-a-roni is so good. Rice-a-roni tastes so
Comic Frenzy started out as a very presentational, performance type of thing. You auditioned in. Auditions were very much of kind of impress the people that are doing it. Very awkward, actually. I absolutely hated it. In fact, I auditioned once and it was terrible. Just because I was terrible. And the second time I auditioned, I was actually better friends with people, which made it easier. It's kind of the route you had to go. And then I got in, and it was all kind of about short form, making the audience laugh. You don't really get to establish much, but you just kind of get to present. Kind of like stand-up comedy to an extent. I mean, you don't plan it, but you almost do because you play to the gags.
But I loved Davey so much. He's the only one, and I was on the team with some hilarious people, and Davey was the only one to ever make me pee my pants on stage during a show. I was also pregnant at the time, but it was a great moment.
Oh man, I better call my girlfriend. Sterling! No, hey, no! That is me. Get off me, man. Why doesn't he ever phone number? Hey, I'm over here. It's me, Sterling. Hey! 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 Hello? Oh my gosh, hey! Hey!
Are you Sterling?
Yeah, I'm your boyfriend.
You look different in your Facebook picture.
Well, hey.
So much fun looking.
Well, I have some great ideas for what we should do today.
Yeah!
Wow! Just like your profile said, crazy. All right, let's go to Temple Square. You in?
Oh, I love it.
All right, come on. All right. Great time. You're so funny. Anyways, so
just like it says on your profile, Oh my gosh!
Will you marry me?
I'm so surprised!
Yeah, me too.
Yes!
Take it.
Okay.
There.
It's so pretty!
Oh, gosh.
Should we hug?
Yeah! Oh, the reflection pool.
Like, I just remember Jessica Neiman. I was like, how do you do it, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I just think about playing with my buddies. Just having fun with my friends. I'm just here playing. I don't even care about the audience. And I'm like, that's insane. And I can get that to work a little bit, but like, I'm literally here for the audience. Like, I have no illusion about that. And if you can, basically, like, if you can have the illusion about that, you'll be more successful, which is hilarious, I think.
Yeah, I came just in the semester that Brant Wadsworth graduated, J.D. Taylor graduated, Jeff Blake graduated, Christian Busaith graduated. I came right on the tail end of them. So I was there with, when I started it was, John Gagnon and James Best and Jesse Thorson, Jessica Neiman now.
Like our last show when a bunch of people graduated. So this was like, I think it was maybe like James, like around the time James left, Brant left, Christian, Cripes, like who else? I mean, I think Jeff had already left, like Jeff Blake had already gone, like the semester before. But there's just like, I remember just feeling like so sad. Brant, like just so bummed out, because like those guys, like I loved all those people, and like I loved performing with them. It's like weird, the kind of like trust that you build with them, you know what I mean? At least that's how I felt. And I remember just like, I'm like, I don't care about the times when we yelled at each other, or you know what I mean, or whatever. Like I was just like, I'm just gonna miss them so much.
First show, and I really just remember my first show, which was a lot of people's first show, was also Mike Ramsey's last show.
We plan out every second, and we do it so well that you think it is made up on the spot.
He was going on a mission, so I remember Mike playing a lot, and I remember everybody cheering for him all the time, and giving a big standing ovation in the end. I don't think he cried, though, and I remember thinking that I hoped people cheered for me like that when I left. They didn't, but at least I cried anyway.
I think being in Comic Frenzy has been probably one of the most influential things in my life.
The camaraderie that came out of that, you know as well as I do that, you either come out of a stage play or, improv company, something like that, saying, oh my gosh, I'll never forget this. And once in a while, it's, I will never go back there again. But most of the time, and 99% of all those kids who came through, there was such camaraderie and such amazing talent. And it was just fun for me to be able to watch that.
I'm so grateful that I was able to be involved in that and we were able to build that together, because it was such a foundational piece of building kind of who I am and like having confidence in my ability to do things and to, just kind of be funny, be who I am. And still to this day, the funniest people I know are those people. And we get together occasionally on Zoom and have just discussions or goof around or whatever it is. And it's still the funniest interactions that I have. And it's one of those things where everyone should be so lucky in their life to have an experience like that. And I count myself as incredibly grateful that I was able to do that, because I know not everybody does. And it was a real special thing. And the fact that it's still going, that's just icing on this incredible cake.
Those are such simple times, and it was about we were a family, man, and we were a family, and that was huge. That was more than any play I was ever in, more than anything else. Comic Frenzy was a family to me. That was my university family, was Comic Frenzy. That's 20 years. It's about 20 years since when I started in Comic Frenzy. That's so weird to think about. Just short of half my lifetime ago, I was a part of something that was amazing and electric and artistic, and I'm still friends with these people.
Because people don't understand comedy is art to people like us. Like they don't understand that comedy is not just a bunch of yucks and trying, that comedy is a deep mind that I keep digging into, that all of us can't stop thinking about. I mean, and all of us to some degree or other still do it or want to do it or think about it, and so but that's what.
In retrospect, in the long view of it all, I have nothing but positive memories of Comic Frenzy. If I were to break down some of the nitty-gritty, sure, there were moments of frustration with the team, with maybe certain players at certain times. But overall, in the long view, what a wonderful thing to have been a part of. And when I graduated in 2005, I thought, well, those are my Comic Frenzy days. I'll never come back to that, and I have nothing but wonderful memories, and I'm ready to move on. But coming back and them going, oh yeah, Comic Frenzy is a class now. That first blew my mind, because I didn't know about the whole 2006 issues. So that kind of blew my mind. But then to know that it was a class and be able to be a part of it and help it to continue to be great, or at least I hope it is, and also to expand on it as well, and stretch us out, do things that we never did in Comic Frenzy when I was here. And still don't know if it's working out really well, but I actually think it is.